Welcome to the Desire to Dream podcast. I'm your host, Lo Wilder. The vision of this podcast is to provide tools on how to become successful in your finances, business, leadership development, and much more. A little bit about me: I grew up in the hood, homeless at the age of 14. I made a choice not to become a product of my environment. And today, I am a successful businessman, community leader, and inspirational speaker. It is my desire to encourage and empower you to unlock your greatness. So tune in and enjoy the show. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Desire to Dream podcast. I'm your host, Lo Wilder. Man, how are you dreamers and achievers doing? I appreciate you all rocking with me. I hope you guys are being, engaged and really applying a lot of the practical things that the speakers are bringing to this platform. We're blessed to have another one of my fellow colleagues, peers, my man, Anthony Bullock, which he's a speaker with AB Motivates, and he's a resilience and mental health speaker in that lane. And so he's going to bless us today in this podcast episode, man. Hey, man, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on, man? Glad to be here, man. I appreciate you for inviting me on, man.
Oh, man, most definitely, all the way from Texas, man. Hey, bro, we first met, man. I just got to tell everyone, Dr. Eric Thomas has a phenomenal program. If y'all don't know, it's called Game Changers Speakers Program, right? And it really is a program to help speakers, not only just monetize, but really elevate our game to this next level. I'm in the cohort right now. You already certified, my man,
Yes,
but
sir.
you was already kind of killing it in that space beforehand. But it's kind of where we met, and I love ET's community because I'm meeting a lot of great people, and we connected on that one call, man. So without further ado, man, kind of share with the audience like who you are, man, your background, and that way we can start diving into this episode.
All right, man, sounds good. So like you said, my name is Anthony Bullock, down here in the deep south of Texas, right in the far west where nobody wants to show up, El Paso.
El Paso, right?
Right. But, a little bit about me, man. I'll just, keep it brief. I went to Prairie View A&M, played baseball there for a while, then graduated barely, right? But hey,
right.
I got that degree, and that's what mattered.
Right.
Then I joined the military, was in the Navy for 8 years, went back to school, went to UTEP, University of Texas at El Paso, got my second degree from there. And then I became a software developer for a little while, but I always had like this calling. Like I've always wanted to speak, but I never spoke because I never felt like I had a story to tell. And so because I didn't have a story to tell, I was like, well, who's going to listen? Right. Like if I don't have anything to say, who's really going to listen to what I have to say? So, I really put it on the back burner for quite some time until, God gave me a story to tell. So here we are.
Bro, that's dope, man. So high school athlete, I'm sure you were playing both football, baseball. You had scholarships. Like, are you the first generation, college, or, you have family members that you kind of always knew you were going to go to college? Like, how that journey looked?
So I knew I was going to go to college simply because that's what my parents instilled, right? Like my mom, she did go to college, right? She graduated. She's a teacher right now. But on my dad's side, I was the first male to graduate from college.
Wow.
So that's kind of why I feel like they pushed it so much, not just for me, but for the legacy to change the cycle.
Right.
So being the first Bullock, to walk across the stage, the first male Bullock to walk across the stage is a big deal to me and to my family. So it's something to hold on to and be proud of. But I knew I was going because of them. But sports, playing sports, I wanted to continue doing that too.
Right.
So it was like, the only way to really continue playing was going to college. So that's where that kind of led me to.
Yeah, man, for real. That's kind of how it was for me. Like growing up, college was a long shot, man. Nobody in my family graduated high school, so I didn't really have that experience, but I did know I wanted to keep playing football. So obviously football, and I wanted to play in the NFL. Like that was a goal. I'm sure that was probably 90% of all males who played football wanted to play in some type of, or baseball, wanted to play in a professional level, and you have to go to school in order to do that. I know you said that you barely graduated. Look, man, I was a 6-year college. It took me 6 years to get my bachelor's. And for me, it was like, and I'll share this story briefly, man, but it was like, again, not having experience and having individuals that went before me. I'll never forget going to the bookstore and we're getting books. Now, look, just kind of brief background. My high school was one of the worst high schools in the city. We didn't have books. We didn't take books home. The teachers had printouts of the chapters, and we had to turn those back in every class. So I didn't have books. I didn't go to high school with a book bag. I'm in a bookstore, man, my freshman year at Hampton University, and I'm getting all these books. I'm looking at the syllabus, right? And I was like, man, these are a lot of books. These books are thick, right? And I'm like, man, I was like, man, I can't believe it's gonna take us 4 years to get through this stuff, man. And everybody looking at me like, what you mean 4 years, bro? I was like, yeah, man, like these are the books we're gonna have for 4 years. They're like, nah, hey, you're gonna be done at the end of the semester. And I was like, oh my God. So that was the first time I was like afraid, like, man, I don't know. So what was those struggles like, man? Because look, I played football at Hampton University, and I'm talking about meetings at 7 a.m, right? You got class at 8, 2 o'clock, you got another meeting, practice at 3, workout after, dinner, meetings after that. I'm sure the same for baseball, man. A lot of people don't understand. That's when we hear these debates about, college students need to get paid. I'm like, you don't understand the rigorous schedule that college athletes are going and the amount of work they put in. So talk about that, man, the struggle, man, and the mental toughness that you needed to kind of finish and get it through, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, real quick, man, just to let you know, the dream was to go to the major leagues, right? I actually tried out for the Cincinnati Reds as a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
And I remember so this is part of my struggle though, right? Because they told me, they said, you had a great tryout, you look good, you're fast, you're quick. They said, keep doing what you're doing, right? What they didn't know was that it was all raw talent. I wasn't really putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I took that same thing back to school, back to my junior year, high school year, freshman year, that I was thinking that they told me to keep doing what I was doing. This is what I've been doing. So let me keep doing it, right? I got to my sophomore year in college, man, and that's when things really started to take a hit for me mentally, with my studies and with my life and with sports going on. And I ended up losing my scholarship, man, because I was really, really struggling with a lot of different things, man, because in my childhood, my sister got sick at a young age, right? And I felt like my family had pushed me off to the side. Right. And so I was struggling with that, I was feeling like I was trying to get approval and acceptance again, from my family. So I'm dealing with that kind of stuff.
Word.
The struggles of, maintaining the academic life along with the athletic life, and like you said, people don't understand what that struggle is, man. I remember we were waking up like 5 o'clock in the morning to go practice, coming back to go eat, then going to class and coming back for practice from like, 2:30 to God knows when.
Right. right.
When they're ready to let us go.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, we still got to eat dinner. We had like 10-15 minutes to run to the cafeteria to get something to eat real quick. It was a real struggle trying to balance that. And like you had the same struggle of nobody really going before you and being able to tell you like what those steps were, especially as an athlete.
Right.
Like you can go on YouTube and see what to expect for the military, right? When you go into boot camp. I ain't have that kind of luxury to where I could go on to anything and say, what's it like to be a college athlete?
Right.
I wasn't getting that. So on top of that, the struggles with that, I'm dealing with these life struggles of trying to get acceptance and approval, and to a point where one day I kind of snapped on one of my teammates, man, and my coach took me down. He told me straight up, he was like, you can lose your career right here if you don't back away from doing what you're doing right now. Because I was about to knock my man out, like real talk.
Right.
And he told me, he said, meet me down at the dugout and I'll be down there after practice. So I had enough sense to back away and walk down there, man. He came down and he said, Bullock, I don't know who I just saw, and it's definitely not the kid who I recruited. He said, so if something's going on right now, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and tell me. It's not a big thing for men, black men at that, really, to talk about their feelings and what they're going through.
Absolutely. Yeah, you kind of told not to, like,
hey, we told you, like, people see you weak, they take advantage of
exactly
you.
Right.
So it's like, he told me that, and he was like, I was like, nah, coach, I'm good.
Right.
I was just having a bad day, you know what I'm saying? But I'll be back at it tomorrow. I apologize for what happened up there, and I'll apologize to my man also. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm good, coach. And that same night, man, I went back to my room, and we had these dressers up against the wall, like right by the light switch, and I had a pocket knife in there. And that night I sat in the dark and I was battling two different voices in my head.
Wow.
And I ended up listening to the one that had no business being there. And I remember I went up to the dresser, opened up the knife, and that was the first time I started cutting myself across my chest. And it wasn't to, you know what I'm saying, to commit suicide or anything like that. It was just easier for me to deal with physical pain than it was for me to deal with mental pain.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
as an
Yeah.
athlete, we used to the struggle, lifting weights and body being
Right.
sore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just a normal kind of thing for me. So that's how I was dealing with everything that was going on. But like I said, I still ended up losing my scholarship. I was lucky enough to kind of get back on track. My daughter was being born, 2 semesters before. No, excuse me. I found out my daughter was being born in March of 2008. She was born in November.
Okay.
But
November baby. Shout out to the November babies.
yeah, hey.
Word.
So she was the reason that kind of got me back on track, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I
She
was
was
like,
your why, man, your purpose, huh?
yeah. So it was like, I cannot be in school, and have a baby, and I'm not taking care of her. Like there's just no way that I could do that. So, my last semester, bro, I took 24 credit hours.
I know all about that. Yeah. Struggle.
24. I'm talking. I took 6 on campus and 6 courses on campus.
Word.
2 online at a different university. And I seed my way out, and I was just thankful for that. You know what I mean?
They don't see that on the degree, man. That's one thing, I mean, it's like, yeah, you want to put in, your full effort and whatnot. But at the end of the day, man, once you got that degree, man, it's not on there now. So definitely, man. But I'm curious, bro, as you're telling your story, right? Because a lot of us deal with these mental struggles, and obviously having a child or being, hey, we're about to have a baby or I'm about to be a father can be even more pressure where it can break you, right? Now you speak in the lane of mental health. You talk about the importance of it. So obviously there was a something that happened, right? Because a lot of people think that, I'm going to continue to suffer in silence. But there's something that had to happen where you were able to shift. Like, so what was it? Was it therapy? Or, what was it that helped you kind of get to that level where you're like, man, I got to do this, man. I have a child on the way. I need to finish. I need to complete what I started out to do. Because a lot of people, you don't just get that on your own.
Right. So, well, to be honest, once again, it was my daughter again. But it really didn't happen. It didn't happen right away.
Gotcha.
What I was 22 when she was born, and I was still cutting myself all the way up until I was 33.
Wow. So you still were dealing with this.
I was still dealing with a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I went to Afghanistan, bro. Like, still dealing with it, still doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't until, my daughter, she actually had an incident where she tried to kill herself.
Wow.
Right. And it wasn't because she didn't necessarily like life, but it was because what she told me was she said she felt like if she had hurt herself, that the bullies would leave her and her friends alone. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, baby girl, I was like, we can't do that. I was like, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, my daughter's a superhero. Like, she's willing to sacrifice her for other
friends.
people.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And it was a different way to look at it. I was like, because she got the picture before I did. Like, it's not about you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about me, kind of thing. So once she went through that, and she asked to go to talk to somebody and go speak to somebody, right? That was when I was like, well, if she's doing it, I need to have the courage to go and speak to somebody, and I need to have the courage to address the people that made me feel a certain way, because I had never said anything to them. Right. And really, people don't know what they don't know. So they're thinking that everything is good, but they don't know that you're going through it because you never said anything. So I was 33, having these conversations with my parents and my siblings and all of them about how they made me feel growing up and what I was doing. And that was really the turning point. It was my daughter going through it, and then me actually having the courage to go and talk to the people that were making me feel away, because that's really where I think it starts, is having that open discussion.
Yeah, you need to, you need to realize, like, like you said, at that point, you felt like, man, if my daughter can do this, I'm going to do this. And when you don't know what you don't know, is like for me as well. I'm probably around that same age when I went to see a therapist, not knowing that, yeah, I overcame all this adversity at a young age. Been shot at, like, been robbed, been in a lot of stuff, man. I mean, God spared my life, bro. Like, I shouldn't even, be here because of the things that I witnessed, right? So I have all this traumatic, I'm talking about from head-on-head collision, car accidents, and I was having these, COVID, right? And then COVID hit, my wife's pregnant, started having these panic attacks. Never happened in my life. So they said, well, that's mental health. So I went and seen the counselor. And like you said, you don't know what you don't know. When I got in, I started realizing these things that I was holding on to for many, many years. And I remember I worked at the jail when I was in college, and they had this session where they had us lift up a chair. They say, lift up your chair and okay, put it down after 30 seconds. Like, how did that feel? Like, straight. Lift up the chair again, hold it for 2 minutes. Boom. So it was this exercise where you would lift up this chair, hold it, and each period it'll be longer and longer. While she was talking, we're still holding the chair, and I'm like, man, this chair getting heavy, right? So she said, I'm sure a lot of you in this room are feeling this chair really heavy on your shoulders. You can put them down now. And she was like, this is what happens when people hold on to their problems and hold them on for like 10 years, 15 years, and it just gets heavy and heavy. So I went into this therapy session, man, and I was able to unpack a lot of these things that was holding me down, and stopping me from my excellence, stopping me from my greatness. So I love sharing this on the podcast. Like you said earlier when we talked, Shaman was on here. We talked about mental health. Listen, my wife's a licensed mental health counselor. And if you're listening to this podcast, whether you're male or female, I always tell people it doesn't matter if you don't think, because you don't know what you don't know. And so just go talk to someone, because I believe we all need it. We all need to speak to someone, just about life in general, man. And a lot of times we tend to go to our friends, and just unpack there, but they don't really help us kind of work through that, So, man, shout outs to you for that, bro. And now you're serving this community, you're helping people build them up. You, like you said, you didn't know there was something inside of you to be a speaker. Now you have this speaking platform, you're certified, you're traveling the country, speaking, right? So what are some tips, like if someone is in that place that you were in, right? You're not a counselor, so you're not giving, counseling tips, but what are some of the things that they can apply right now? First, go see somebody that's a professional counselor, but some of the other things that they can apply. Like, what are you teaching in these seminars?
Well, really, one of them, man, is to understand that it's a journey, right? Like mental health is not a destination that you just land onto and then everything is good.
Word.
Because life is going to hit you all the time, regardless of what your life is, what your salary is, what your job is, like how your family is. Like, life is going to always throw you something. To really just go backwards real quick, man. Like, after all that mental health and after me talking to my parents and stuff, like 2 years ago, bro, I was in a major road of a car accident. Like, a head-on collision. I was in a major road of a car accident, ejected from the vehicle, broke my neck and my back, face, ribs, skull, and shoulders. And doctors said that they didn't know if I was gonna walk again. You know what I'm saying? And if I did walk again, I would never walk the same way that I did before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And God willing, you know what I'm saying? I was up and walking on day 3. I was from the hospital on day 5. And so it's really about, not only understanding that mental health is a journey, but you have to have belief that everything is going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like your thoughts, literally, your thoughts will carry you through in a positive way or a negative way, and both have, you know what I'm saying, a result at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Word.
And that positivity, bro, I'm telling you, as tough as as tough as it is to find that silver lining, bro, in everything.
Yeah.
It's really one of the biggest things that will keep you going, bro. Like, when I was laying in the hospital bed, right? It was literally me. I'm crying at night. You know, like I'm laughing, I'm laughing, I'm having a good time with the people that are there, because I don't want them to see me in pain, right? Like I don't want them to see me like down and out about stuff, right? Even though I was, right, at nighttime, that's when I let it out. That's when I was crying. That's when I was really like kind of letting go. And I don't get frustrated when I hear people say this whole little phrase, but you know how they say, I looked at it and the situation came and it was, why not me?
Right.
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 Like nobody's thinking that on the first when
Absolutely
things
not.
first happen.
Absolutely not. Not when
Like
your neck,
nobody,
your neck,
you know,
you're jacked up in the bed. Like,
right.
no, sir.
Nobody's in that mind frame where it's like, and so I looked at the situation and I said, why not me? That's, I understand it, but you don't get there until later. You know what I mean? Like, no, and that's the thing, right? People share that, but they don't share the other side of that. They don't share that they went through the dark moments first. Like I went through dark moments for at least, a month and a half, where it was like I had the motivation and the will to get through it, but I still had those down moments where it was like, man, like how did this happen? Like why did I let this happen? Right? I wasn't on that, why not me at the time. It wasn't until I started to really see results in my mindset and in my body where I was like, you know what, I can really do this. Like I mean, I had a cane at the time. I'm wrapping the cane around my son's crib, pulling myself up out of bed because I didn't want my old lady to have to do anything for me. You know what I'm saying? Like my son was just born. Like I don't want her to have to deal with two kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm wrapping it on the baby crib. I'm pulling myself up at night. If I got to go to the bathroom, I'm doing everything by myself because I have this belief that I'm gonna be okay. Like I know that I'm walking. Right. The struggle is painful, but the end result will be blissful. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really like, how do you get there? It's belief. You have to know. You have to know that it's going to be okay. You have to be able to see that who you're going to be on the other side of the storm is going to be better than the person before the storm and in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's really what I, outside of the, teaching that, resilience and mental health is a journey, is that believe that it's going to be okay. And your thoughts are going to dictate what happens in that situation.
Right. Nah, yeah, that's powerful, man. And I was thinking like, bro, you're on this journey on your, you talk about the journey. You're on the journey like to mental health, and you're finally getting it, and then you get in this car accident, you get this challenge. But the fact that you was able to not make again another excuse, right? Because a lot of people, bro, and I'm just gonna be honest, man, if you're listening to this, like we make excuses. I was a victim of that too. And we're just like, bro, you don't use the phrase why not me. You say, man, why is this always happening to me? Every time I'm about to go do something, boom, something bad happens. But like you said, you have to have this belief in yourself and in the situation that it's something that you're going to grow through, something that you're going to be able to overcome the test and turn it into a testimony. So definitely, man, shout outs to you, for that, bro, because I already know, like I said, right before the pandemic, head on head collision, same thing, bro. I'm walking with a cane, like not knowing if this is going to happen. And there's a lot of, that mental struggle, right, that takes in place. So I did want to talk about, we had mentioned, that you speak in this lane, but specifically for athletes. And I know Jamal King talks about it all the time. I forget his acronym, but it's like this post, traumatic thing when you were an athlete and then now you're not. So you speak, I forget his acronym, but you speak to athletes on resilience and mental health. And so a lot of times, and I know this happened to me, probably happened to you, when you have to hang up the cleats, when you have to, turn it in and it's all over, nobody's cheering for you anymore. And now you have to figure out, okay, who am I? I'm no longer a student athlete. Now I'm a student, or now I'm a civilian. And you see this a lot in NFL players as well, NBA players, when they retire, they don't know what to do. Some of them get into broadcasting, whatever, but others, they struggle with this. What is something that you can, some, again, advice you can give individuals that are former athletes who are now trying to find their way into, like, you went into the military, you became a part of or the Navy, so now you became a part of another team, if you will, for 8 more years. And so I'm sure you did that, but then at some point when the dust settled, you're like, I'm back to being a civilian. How hard is that transition, and what advice you got for them?
So the transition for me personally is never really difficult, right? Because I've always been one that was able to adapt to change very, very easily. Because I know that that's the one. There's two constants in life: change and death, right? Like those are the two certainties that we know are always going to happen. And so for me, having that mindset of knowing that change is always going to happen, it was easy for me to just be able to adapt. But I think, like you just said, one of the main things that you can do is identify yourself as something other than an athlete, right? Because once you do that, you can start to see other avenues, right? And it's not to say that you can't take your passion with you, right? Like if you're an athlete and all you know is basketball, all you know is football, right? Okay, find a way to maybe coach, right? Or find a way to maybe mentor some younger kids that play sports, right? Like there's no saying that you can't, keep that passion within you, but you can't identify, you have to find a different identity in yourself that says, okay, if I'm not an athlete, what else am I? So I remember there was an exercise that I did where I went down and I listed a bunch of things that I am, right? Like I am a student athlete, I am a father, I am a husband, I am a college degree athlete, I am a veteran, right? So I have all these different things that I can identify with.
Like affirmations.
Well, no,
or is it different than that?
Well, not even affirmations. It's really just identifying yourself with something other than just one thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like the affirmations, those are real too, though, because I say those all the time.
Right.
Right. And people think it's corny or whatever, right? But you literally,
bro, that thing builds confidence right there, man.
You are literally what you speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, so like you were saying, words are powerful, bro.
Absolutely.
So why would I not do something that I know works, right? To build on my life. Like, why would I not do that? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But really going back, it's understanding that you're more than just an athlete. You just have to find out what those things are. And so what are those things that you love? Who are you? What do you like to do? Right? Like what brings you joy? Right? Like writing those things down, they help you figure out what the next lane can be for you outside of like, oh, well, I'm done with sports. This is all I knew. So now I got to go back to the hood, or now I got to go back home. Right. Like, and it doesn't have to be that way. Because once again, that's a mental mind frame, right? A mindset that you're putting yourself into that if I don't do sports, I can't do anything else kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you say that, you're setting yourself up.
Right. So, I can make it practical for me, man. So, obviously being a former athlete, I'm in the business of sales. And so very competitive. But like you said, I mentor and I bring others along. I kind of share with them how to be competitive, but also how to be, how to collaborate with your peers. And then not only that, man, it's like a lot of the things I catch myself like saying to them is things that my coaches said. And I realized that, man, my coach was a philosopher, bro. Like Coach Joe Taylor, man, shout out to Joe T. He's a legend in the HBCU as a football coach, but he was a philosopher. He left us with nuggets that I was like thinking like, bro, he wasn't just preparing us for the field. He was preparing us for life as well, man. So, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right at that. Adjust, man, whatever it is that you're doing, and then also who are you is in those identifiers, man. That's a great exercise. Start writing those things down. If you don't have affirmations, start writing them down. I have a notebook and the notes in my phone with affirmations, because it boosts your confidence, especially when you're laying in a bed in a head-on-head collision and a broken neck, and you like, bruh, you gotta look at them affirmations because that's still who you are. no matter the circumstance that you're currently in. So, man, that's what's up, bro. Man, look, I appreciate you, man. I love what you're doing. Before you go, kind of share, how you're now living in your dream and your purpose, traveling, what that feeling's like, man, and being able to go to different cities and just change and transform lives.
Oh yeah, man. It's it's beautiful, to be able to set out a goal,
Right.
and then to be able to accomplish that goal. It's a beautiful thing. I love going out to different schools and talking to these athletes about resilience and mental health. Like, I love it. But the real thing, man, is like understanding that once you hit one goal, that doesn't mean that there's no other goal.
Right.
And we have to be able to build on top of that, man. So the goal for this year was to get 10 speaking gigs, and I got that. Right. So now next year the goal is 30.
Let's go.
And so, but it's really enjoyable, and I love speaking. I'm already a talker, bro. So like,
yeah. Hey, you're gifted, right? And yeah.
So to be able to do this and get paid for it, bro, like,
Word.
I'm telling you, like,
Word.
I'm good with it.
Yep.
And it's just, to get those athletes that come up to you afterwards that are like, yo, man, like, your story is dope. Like, if you can get through that, man, and still have an attitude of gratitude kind of thing, right? And be thankful for where you are and where you were. Like, I can definitely change my perspective on that, right?
Word.
And that's really where I get my my fuel from, is when they come up to me afterwards and they say, man, like, your story, or man, that presentation was great. Like, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Right. And I love the fact that I'm going back to Tennessee, because I get to look at them kids and say, okay, you told me
right.
you're going to do this. Did you do this?
Right.
Right. So
follow up. Love it.
Yes, it's great, man. I love it.
Yeah, man. Hey, I tell people all the time, like, that first time I spoke in front of like 900 students, and the assistant principal came up to me. She was like, I'd never seen these are ninth graders right after lunch. I never seen them like just so engaged. Like, you get paid professionally. And I was like, excuse me? Like, didn't know you can get paid doing this, right?
Right.
I'm like, I started looking into it. That's when I got introduced to like the Les Browns and, the ETs, but I couldn't believe it, bro. And I tell people now, like, because I remember when I got my, first $500 to speak for 30 minutes to an hour, it was amazing. But even as you get older, like, you have your son, you have your daughter, you spot your significant other. If you got to go speak in Tennessee, you're leaving your family, right? It costs to travel, all of those things kind of incorporate. So it is a business, right? And people be like, oh, I got to pay you to come speak. Yeah, you do. I'm leaving my family, right? And then I'm also going to help transform your whatever lane it is for you. You're going to go speak to athletes. You're going to transform them. They're going to be more resilient than what they were before you got there. They're also going to have this mental toughness because you're bringing them, you're sharing this platform, and like for me, being able to transform and give them practical steps to turn their dream to reality. So you got kids who at first didn't probably value education. Now they're like, man, you know what this dude said? I need to pay more attention to the classroom because it's going to help me get to that next level and being an entrepreneur, right? So you're connecting individuals from their current state and bringing them to their potential state. So that's why we're specialists and get paid to do what we do, man. So, shout outs to you, AB, man. I appreciate that. Before we go, man, the last thing, bro, what if there's something that you can go back and, back, it doesn't matter when, whether it was high school, whether it was when you were in the Navy, if there was something that you can go and tell the younger version of yourself, what you know now, what would that be?
That it's gonna be exactly what you make it.
Love it.
Like,
love it.
like real talk. Like, it's gonna be what you make it. And I'll be quick when I say that. It took me, my journey to speaking before I got paid was 17 months. Right. And it was because I decided that I wanted to go a different route. But my first check for speaking, once I knew that I had it, that I had my message, I had everything down, I had been practicing for 17 months in different platforms, right? That first check was $3,500, right? And then I went to, I got into Game Changers, right? And I realized some things, right? And I was like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. You
Right.
dump that fee.
Right.
You know what I
Hey,
mean?
today's price ain't yesterday's price, bruh.
Big flex. So I went to 10 racks. And then
Yeah.
after I got what I needed for that, right? The whole, the testimonials. Now I can show proof that it works. Now the
Yep.
people buy it.
Yep.
So it's like, understanding, that everything is going to be what you make it. I've literally put in countless hours and days, and I've competed in Toastmasters international speech competition and got first place in district, and I lost in quarterfinals in 2021. But that was kind of like when everything started, because I said, God, if this is the lane that you want me in, then show me. I'm gonna compete.
Right.
Speak through me, and let's make this thing work. He showed me that, and I was like, bet, let's go.
Yeah, bro, that's awesome, AD, man. I appreciate that, you coming on, man, and blessing us, man. And we're gonna have your social media handles in the description, man. So go check him out, man. He's got some great content. You'll be able to kind of follow him and ask any questions. Yeah, man. Hey, appreciate you, bro, for being on the Desire to Dream podcast, man. I hope that this podcast episode bless you all. Go like, share with your friends, man, and let's just be great. Go out there and turn their dream to reality. We appreciate you. We love you. God bless.